All right. So, yeah, this is another sad video because we're going to talk about tomorrow's game, and pretty much, if you are a believer in statistics, you will say that tomorrow's game is almost borderline unwinnable. It's that bad, believe it or not. Um, if I'm going to be honest, I think we have a better chance of winning the fifth and final game in Washington than we do of winning this game. Because, as I said in the previous video, the preview to Game 3, Ryan Vogelsong is just god awful in history uh, against the Nationals. And, so far these numbers have played out pretty well. Bumgarner had a good history against the Nationals. He pitched well. Fister had a good history against the Giants. He pitched well. Hudson had a good history against the Nationals. He pitched well. You know, the only stat that really hasn't held true is Peavy's terrible playoff performance. And that's even scarier because we're going to need to rely on Peavy to win the fifth game if it does go that far, and I fully expect it to. And here's why. So Gio Gonzalez's career against the Giants is a 2.59 ERA, 41 innings. His WHIP is only 1.320, so that shows he's opened the door a little bit. And it does look as if, he's given up a reasonable number of hits, which is helpful. And 15 walks. Surprisingly, his control really is better than he actually gives up less walks than hits based on his career numbers show that he's a guy who doesn't give up a lot of hits. And, but does walk a few people, gets a little wild. So the fact that he shows a tendency towards not walking a lot of people, I think, works against us even further. And Vogelsong career, I'm not even going to look up the exact number, but let me just say that against the Nationals, his career ERA is over 6. Over 6. And, I think if he really pulls it together and focuses, that he will be able to pitch somewhat effectively, but my guess is even pitching effectively, he's going to give up 3 or 4 runs. That will be an accomplishment. If Vogelsong manages to only give up 3 or 4 runs, then I think it will have been something of an achievement, given his history against the Nationals. And, we can't have any more. I mean, that's why I think that because he's going to give up probably 3 or 4 runs tomorrow, minimum. I don't think we can possibly expect a quality start out of him. I certainly do not expect a quality start out of Vogelsong tomorrow. I'm not trying to discount Vogelsong. I think he's got ability. He's done it before in the playoffs. He has come up big in these kinds of situations, but I think it's a big difference to come up big against a team that, you don't have particularly strong trends going forward against you versus a team that has historically killed you. And it only gets worse as we go to the matchups, but I'm not going to go to the matchups quite yet. Because I wanted to just make a comment about the Giants offense. We cannot continue to play like we've been playing as far as the lineup is concerned. I mean, obviously Belt can continue to play like he's been playing. Sandoval can continue to hit like he's been hitting. But we're going to need more out of almost everyone. Posey's done a great job, but, I don't think this is going to be fixed until the leadoff situation is fixed. And I think that Bochy is going to have to experiment in this game. And if Bochy just throws out Blanco in the leadoff spot again, then I would not be surprised if Gio Gonzalez owns us the way he has owned us in the past. Because, as I mentioned in the previous video, we seem to be sort of spiraling down this sort of no offense hole that we've seen many times before with the lack of Pagan. It is and tomorrow's a night game. That's even worse. At least today, if I'd known that tomorrow was a night game, I'd really think that yesterday's game was crucial. But now we've got to try to score runs at night. I mean, this team never does that with Blanco leading off at home. So that's super intimidating. The idea of trying to beat Gio Gonzalez with offense tomorrow, which I don't think is going to happen. And you look at this Nationals lineup, and it's a sleeping giant right now. In all reality, I mean, Span, he was 2 for 4. Span's a 300 hitter. He's been a good hitter this year. Rendon has been killing us, and I don't really particularly expect that to change. But especially the big guys, that we're not seeing that normally, put a hurting on teams are Worth, LaRoche, and Desmond. And even Wilson Ramos to some extent. These guys, are just waiting, I'm sure. I mean, I know they've faced some great pitching performances from Peavy and Hudson. But these guys, especially Worth, who is a really good hitter, are not just going to lie down and die for the rest of the series. At some point, we are going to see offense out of Worth. At the very least, LaRoche, we haven't seen a home run from. He's not the best hitter, but he certainly has been productive this year and in the past. So, we've been lucky, I think, so far with LaRoche. And Wilson Ramos also. He's been a great hitter, and he's done very little. So, we have to be really careful with these three guys. And I don't know if Worth is just slumping or what's going on, but, he's the guy that scares me the most. Because we've seen how good he can be in the past. He's a guy who's hit well over 300 many times. I don't think we can keep expecting them to just be shut down, especially by Vogelsong, who did finish with a 4 ERA this year. And you certainly don't feel too comfortable with a guy with a 4 ERA going up against a guy who usually has an ERA in the low 3s, sometimes even high 2s. Gio Gonzalez is a tough pitcher. Almost, he can be as tough as anyone else in the Nationals rotation. And Vogelsong, he's had times where he's been as tough as anyone else in the Giants rotation, but I'd say they're fewer and farther between than Gio Gonzalez. So, with that said, I think we need to get creative tomorrow. I think either Gary Brown leading off and Blanco down in the order, or we put we leave Blanco in the leadoff spot and put Belt in left, and hopefully, with Susac catching and Posey at first, you get more offense from Posey at first. Susac, lengthens the lineup a little bit. I mean, Susac hasn't had any playoff experience, and so that could be daunting for some people. It hasn't affected Panic that much yet. But I don't know. Susac seems like a guy who rises to the occasion to me, so I think it would be worth it to give him a shot. If I had my way, that's what I would do tomorrow. I would probably put Belt in left, Posey at first, Susac catching, and Blanco in center. And, the thing about this game is Blanco, I don't expect him to do much in terms of hitting, but because Gio Gonzalez is wild, at the very least, or can be wild, I should say. At the very least, Blanco might be able to coax a walk or two and be a threat in the leadoff spot. And I think that's the only way. I mean, unless Blanco somehow breaks out of his slump, I don't really see it happening. He has never performed as a leadoff hitter. So, the other option, I guess, would be to maybe, move Blanco down the lineup and, maybe lead off with Panic. Or maybe even lead off. I mean, they talk about leading off with Pence. I don't really want to see Pence. I don't think we haven't had that much success with Pence in the leadoff role. We haven't really scored a ton of runs with that going on. So I wouldn't mind seeing like Panic and then Belt, and then the rest of the lineup, though, especially the way Belt's been hitting. I wouldn't mind seeing Belt be moved up, and then just rely on Susac and Blanco near the bottom. I mean, you don't want to have to rely on a guy who has no playoff experience and a guy who has been slumping. But Blanco does hit better in the lower part of the order, and it does seem like he's more productive down there. I don't know. Probably what I would do is leave Blanco in the leadoff spot and put Belt in left and just hope that the bottom of the order could produce. I think that probably makes the most sense. But I would not at all be opposed to even benching Blanco for a game and starting Gary Brown. How about Gary Brown in center? Belt in left. Now that would be really outside the box, and to be honest, I think that could even be the I mean, I think Brown gives you as much defense as Blanco does because Brown is supposedly Gary Brown is a great fielder. And when it comes down to these situations where you have a known quantity Blanco, who I mean, we know that Blanco can be good, but he's not good in the leadoff spot. I think he's proven that over and over again. So I think we know that Blanco can't do it in the leadoff spot, but we don't really know what Brown can do. Certainly, he's not a great hitter, but he does have game-changing speed, and if he could manage to take a walk or get on base, he could wreak havoc and get into the head of Gio Gonzalez. And so, if, I know most people would say it's crazy, but if I had my way, we'd see Gary Brown and Andrew Susac in the lineup tomorrow. Gary Brown in center, Belt in left, Susac catching, and Posey at first. You get a little extra boost from Posey. You still get to keep Belt's bat in the lineup. You get Susac's bat, who has been impressive to this point. And you get the wild card in Gary Brown. We don't really know what we're going to get, but he performed pretty well against the Padres. And, it's a shame that we don't know more about Gary Brown, because I do believe that they mismanaged the situation. In September, we really should have seen Gary Brown in a lot more games. There was really no reason to. We have to keep Blanco sharp, but for us to have gone to Ishikawa in the first place, he's been okay. He's done a decent job, but we had time to experiment there, and they didn't want to do anything too crazy. I don't know. I don't know why they thought we'd be better off. I guess Ishikawa didn't do much against the Dodgers. I would have liked to have seen Gary Brown a little more, just so we know what we have a little better. See how he adjusts to the majors, give him a chance to adjust to major league pitching. Because now throwing him in the outfield really is sort of a wild move. I mean, I like those high risk moves, the high risk high reward moves. I think that those are generally a better call than going with what's safe, but what's been proven to not work. And that's what we have with Blanco in the leadoff spot. It's the safe decision, but so far it's proven to not work. And I would rather see a wild card like Gary Brown in there than put up with another day of Blanco in the leadoff spot. It's not to say Blanco hasn't, contributed on defense. He's been excellent on defense, and I do believe he can be an effective hitter lower in the order. But we're really going to need to muster up at least 4 runs in this game against Gio Gonzalez, and more like 5 probably. We'll probably need to get at least 5 runs. I mean, this is, if we're going to win this game, it's going to be, we're going to have to score a lot, because I don't see Vogelsong with a lockdown performance. And to outline that point, let's move to the matchups. We've gotten all the preliminary stuff out of the way. So, Gio Gonzalez. Well, we got Brandon Crawford 2 for 6 with a home run. All right, that's something. Nothing to get too excited about. Pagan, unfortunately, not in. It was 2 for 5. It'd be nice if we had him, but can't be talking about what we can't have here. It's just pointless frustration. Blanco is 0 for 1 with 2 walks, so that shows that Blanco has been able to take a walk against Gio, and that's why, probably the smart money is on him starting and being the leadoff hitter again. I still don't want to see it, but at least if he does start, maybe he can take a walk or 2. I don't expect him to get a hit anymore at this point. Brandon Belt 0 for 4 with a walk. 1 for 4 with a walk. Not much to say about that. Joaquin Arias, he's hitting .273, 3 for 11. I don't think we could possibly expect him to play much of a role. I don't think he's going to be in left field, so that's probably, and even if he was, that's not great numbers. This is the killer right here. Posey 3 for 14. No home runs. Really nothing. No doubles even. 3 singles against Gio Gonzalez. So 3 for 14, not too extensive, but it's hard to expect a lot out of Posey with those kind of numbers. I don't know. Probably not enough at-bats to really say, but You know, you'd rather see a nicer number than that out of Posey against Gio. Then you got Hunter Pence, 1 for 12 against Gio Gonzalez. 2 strikeouts, a couple of walks. You know, that means that there's very little chance that Pence breaks out of his slump tomorrow. Again, more to be concerned about. Even more to be concerned about. Pablo Sandoval, 1 for 10. You know, 1 RBI and a walk. So, I mean, look at this. Look at the center. I mean, this is if there's a recipe for disaster, this is it. You know, what do we say? When Blanco isn't performing as a leadoff hitter, we need the guys in the middle of our order to produce. You know, they got to get on base, or they got to drive in Panic if he manages to get on base. You know, Panic's kind of a wild card because I guess he hasn't faced Gio Gonzalez yet. So, but, you know, how is Panic, even if Panic does find a way on base, or if Blanco, let's say, walks his way on base, how are we going to drive him in when Posey can't hit Gio Gonzalez, Pence can't hit Gio Gonzalez, and Sandoval can't hit Gio Gonzalez? The middle of our order has been totally ineffective against Gio Gonzalez, and it's not as if they haven't seen him at all. You know, that's in 14 at-bats, 12 at-bats, and 10 at-bats for Posey, Pence, and Pablo, respectively. So, you know, we're talking about danger. This is not shaping up, you know. Gio Gonzalez has had good numbers against the Giants in the past, but it seems as if against this group he's had especially good numbers. And I have seen other games where we've struggled to do anything against Gio Gonzalez, and I fully expect that to be the case in this game, unfortunately. I wish I could say anything else. And now this is where the Giants have to prove to me that they're more than their stats show. And if they do, I will be thrilled. If they don't, you know, I don't know. We still have a chance to win in Washington, but all the momentum will be rolling against us if they can't win this next game. And, you know, that's why I predicted that they would lose the series if they lost the game with Bumgarner. But anyway, don't want to be too defeatist. Let's move on to the hitters, Nats hitters against Vogelsong. And this is where it gets even more worrisome. As I mentioned, Vogelsong with a career 6+ ERA against the Nationals, and it seems as if this group is especially talented against him. Ian Desmond, another name I should have mentioned, is one of the Giants killers who hasn't been a Giants killer so far. Those kind of stats are not going to stay dormant forever. Another one of the sleeping Giants, Ian Desmond. I'm waiting for him to hit a home run. It's bound to happen. Sorry. Sooner or later. So, yeah. Ian Desmond, 4 for 10 with a home run, 6 RBI. That is scary. I believe he figured prominently in the blowout that they had against Vogelsong earlier this year in San Francisco. Yes, he was blown out in San Francisco this year. Then you got, let's see, Ramos, 1 for 2. Not much to say there, but, you know, somewhat worrisome. Denard Span, 385, 5 for 13. He seems like he's starting to get it together, so their leadoff hitter is going to be able to get on for the guys. Zimmerman, 3 for 8, 3 walks and an RBI. Not a large sample size, but again, more bad news, and even more bad news. Jason Worth, 3 for 8 with 2 doubles, 2 of his 3 hits, and an RBI. So he's batting .375 against Vogelsong. Even Shearholtz, 2 for 4 against Vogelsong. Adam LaRoche, 3 for 10 with 3 RBI, 2 doubles. I mean, it just gets uglier and uglier. You know, at least Rendon, 1 for 4. Small sample size, though, and he's been just totally raking us. I mean, Rendon has been the biggest thorn in our side so far. I really don't expect that to change too much. Cabrera, 1 for 4 with an RBI. I wouldn't be surprised if he contributed to the onslaught that is likely to happen. The only bit of good news in this list is Bryce Harper, 1 for 8. And that is good because Bryce Harper has been feeling it. That's 1 for 8 with 4 strikeouts too. So at least Vogelsong has got some ownage on Bryce Harper. It's still a very small sample size. And, the way Harper's playing, I wouldn't be surprised if he flipped that script a little bit. But, at the very least, the one guy who seems to be on a mission to destroy us now is at least has some negative history. But that's pretty much all we have to hope for, because the rest of the lineup is ready to tear the cover off the ball against Vogelsong. And, I don't want to sound like a total Vogelsong doubter. He was a great story in 2012, and it was fantastic to see him overcome so much adversity to contribute to the team in a big way. But, I think he's 37 now. He had a decent year. He had some very strong games, but he also got blown out. And, I will be extremely surprised if this isn't another game where he gets blown out. Nationals are probably feeling very confident now. They know that they have a good record against Vogelsong, and they know that they have a lot of faith in Gio Gonzalez, and they know they can win if they can get it back to Washington. So, what can I say? It's looking bleak, very bleak. The crankiness for this cranky SF Giants fan has been turned up to 11 at this point, and pretty much, it might require divine intervention on this one. This might be where, if we are a team of destiny, I think it's going to happen in this game. And maybe, maybe Vogelsong, will find some hidden reserve of strength. Maybe he'll just study up and buck the trends. But as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of things pointing to disaster. Vogelsong's poor record versus the Nationals in history, Vogelsong's poor record versus the Nationals lineup, and the fact that the Nationals lineup has a lot of big names who have yet to inflict any damage, and that they're due. And meanwhile, on the other side, you've got terrible, good numbers for Gio Gonzalez versus the Giants in his history against the Giants. Terrible numbers against the current roster of Giants versus Gio Gonzalez. And, after that, I guess it's just a matter of, the lack of offense with Blanco in the leadoff spot. So everything is working against us. There is nothing to suggest we will win this game. Be ready for it to go back to Washington. I think... I'm just going to assume it is going to go back to Washington. That's how certain I am that we're going to get blown out tomorrow. And, certainly I will be happy to eat my words on this one. But if it does go back to Washington, we've got the choice of Zimmerman and Strasburg. I guess I thought they were going to be Strasburg. I didn't realize that Zimmerman could start on 5 days rest. I guess if they were smart, they'd probably go with Zimmerman, because he's been better against us. And I still believe, despite his great performance, Zimmerman's had 2 fantastic performances in a row, a no-hitter and then the almost complete game shutout that he wasn't really allowed to complete. I do believe we would make more noise against him back in Washington. So, I do believe he's also the best choice to go against us rather than Strasburg. But I don't think he's going to be as good as he was, because just by the law of averages, again, there's no way he pitches a complete game shutout again. I don't see it happening. 3 complete game shutouts in a row is very unlikely. But, to rely on PV to outpitch Zimmerman in that game, highly questionable. So, the depression's already starting to set in. Again, I'm expecting a slow-motion car wreck here. I'm just hoping that somehow, despite all the stats to the contrary, the Giants figure out a way to win this game tomorrow. And if they do, we will truly be on the road to destiny, I believe. Go Giants. Let's hope it somehow miracles are still possible.